guys, welcome back to L&V Tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to create an open bezel beaded earrings. So to begin, I have these 2 gold bezels and some wire. Here I am actually using, I've got the 20 gauge wire. You can go thinner than this if you wanted to drop down. You could probably go down as low as about 28, but I wouldn't go much smaller than that or it's not going to hold very well. So with the 20 gauge wire, I've just cut a strand of a couple feet off. I'm slowly wrapping it around just a starting point. You can really start at any point on the bezel, like on the side of the bezel, and then just kind of scoot it down or scoot it up depending on where you want your line of beads to begin. So I've wrapped it around. I'm going to use my pliers to tighten the coil. I don't want any gap between there, so I want it to be very tightly wound around the coil there. So I've wrapped it 2 or 3 times. So moving on. And I also used the pliers to flatten the end down. So I'm going to start putting some beads on. You can use whatever mix of beads that you want. I have a combination of seed beads, rocaille beads, some of the kind of natural stone beads, and some faceted beads. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide these on. So I'm working with the 2mm seed beads right now. You can see. You want to slide them on, and the goal is to fill up the space from one side of the bezel to the other. So it looks like I need a few more. Here we go. Let's get that on. I will say some of the 2mm beads might not fit over your wire. Sometimes it's just that specific bead. You just set it to the side, grab another one of the same color, and it'll fit. So it looks like those fit pretty well. So now I'm going to take the end of my wire and coil it around on the opposite side from where I started, just to hold that first strand in place. So I've wrapped it around. I'm going to pull it tightly. I'm going to use my pliers to get it exactly where I want. Kind of takes a little adjusting. Once you get the first strand or 2 on, it's much easier to work from there. I'm going to wrap it a second time here so that I have another coil. Again, pull it tightly. Here we go. All right. And you can kind of adjust each row as you go. I am going to move on, and I'm going to use these 4mm rocaille beads, this kind of pearl color. Obviously, since these are twice the size of the seed beads that I used, it's going to take fewer of those. Even though the opening is at the bottom part of this kind of teardrop shape, so the opening is slightly bigger than the row below it, but it's still going to take fewer beads. So I could do 4. Do I want to put a 5th one on? This is just kind of have to gauge it there. I think 4 is enough, so I'm going to go ahead and coil my wire around. And get it in position how I want. Just trying to keep the rows tight together. And so now I'm going to continue on putting the rest of the rows on. Here we go. So you can see I did a variety of beads as well as the little kind of blush colored stone beads at the top. I'm going to finish off by wrapping my wire around a few more times. I'm going to trim it, and then I will use my pliers to flatten down the end. You don't want that end of the wire sticking out. And so now I can hook on a little jewel at the bottom if I want. I like this little charm. So I've got both of these finished. So you don't have to watch me make both. And these little stones at the bottom are optional. I just think they're cute, but I'm going to go ahead and put the ear wire on the top. So I'm just opening up the jump ring. These particular bezels had this kind of larger jump ring that they came with. So I'm going to hook the ear wire on, close it up. Repeat that for the second earring here. Put the ear wire on. You want to make sure it's closed completely so the ear wire doesn't come back off. So at this point, you could leave these as is. So students, if you are the ones watching this, if you want to add the charm on the bottom, you can. That additional stone, gem, jewel, whatever you want to call it. You can also submit them as is like this. So to do this, I'm just going to open the ring, the jump ring, and I'm going to hook them on, find a little space at the bottom here, and close it up completely. Maybe, there we go. Get it to lay out here, and then I'm going to repeat that for the second earring. So pretty simple, depending on the wire and bezel that you choose, the color of those, the color of the beads, the style. These could obviously look very different from one pair to the next. So I'm going to include a list of these supplies in the description below where you can purchase those. And please make sure you follow the L&B Tutorials channel if you don't already. I would love it if you have any questions, if you would please drop a comment below. I'm happy to answer those whenever I can, or if you have any suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions. A lot of times people will give tips in the comments. That's perfectly fine as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.